Hello, witches, occultists, heathens, whoever you are. Today we are talking about protection magic. I put a poll up on my community page for this YouTube channel, just kind of asking what sort of topics you would be most interested in watching, and this topic won by a landslide. So we're talking about protection magic today, but I wanted to put a couple disclaimers out there because a lot of witchy YouTubers have already done a protection magic 101 type video, and rather than me just kind of, saying the same things that they said on their videos, I can definitely refer you to some if you want. There are so many witchy YouTubers that have done exceptional jobs at creating protection magic videos. So in this video, I'm gonna kind of try to do it a little bit differently from that. I'm going to talk about what I personally have found extremely effective, and it's going to range from old school folk magic practices to new age practices to chaos magic meets witchcraft. It's going to be kind of all over the board. So this is more just about my personal practice, what I do for protection magic. This is not the end all be all. Definitely go read some books on protection magic and get more of a 101, which covers a wide range of things, because this is just going to be me word vomiting all the things that I personally do. Now, another note that I wanted to say, in that poll, there were some other topics that people really wanted to see as well. I do plan to do a video on those topics at some point. So not to worry, we'll definitely get to the biopsychology of color. We'll definitely get to metal magic. We'll get to alchemy. We'll do all those fun things. I'm really excited to make those videos. So I haven't forgotten about them. I just wanted to make sure that I gave this video full attention first, of course, since it won the poll. Now, I'm not going to show you everything I personally do for protection magic because that would be really not smart because that's kind of like taking somebody to your house and showing them all of the security cameras in your place. Like, why would you do that, So I'm going to talk about in general what I do for protection magic, but I'm not going to show you like the ins and outs of every single little thing that I do. Some of it is more private, and sometimes, I kind of want those secret little traps. So I'll just keep some of those to myself. Now, this is going to be a combination of personal protection and home protection. So we're going to talk about a little bit of both in this video. And one more thing that I wanted to say before we begin is that I was originally going to make a completely separate video on building your astral army, but I kind of figured it falls under protection magic. A lot of the stuff that I do with my astral army is protection magic. So I'm going to kind of combine both of these topics into one video. So we're going to start small. We're going to start this video with some folk magic practices that pretty much everybody and their mom, throws into their magical practice. We're going to start with the most basic ones and build up to more complex practices as we go along. And at the end of this video, I will discuss more about building your army, what that means, why you should do it, and all that stuff. So if you were curious why the building your astral army video did not come out, it's because it's in this video. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so I was gonna actually take you around my house room by room and show you all the magical items in each room, but that video, for one, would be super long, and for two, that's a little too personal. So I just gathered some items here that I'm going to show you. We're in my living room right now, but I wanted to start by showing you some witch bells. We're just going to start with like some good old-fashioned folk magic practices that most people already incorporate into their homes. But witch bells are really popular. I have two different kinds here. And really anything with a bell on it can be a witch bell. This is the one that I hang on my front door. So bells are said to ward off negativity. It's meant to be every time you open the door, it makes a sound, and the sound itself is supposed to be clearing. If you've ever heard of sound clearing, a lot of people, instead of smoke cleansing, will take bells or chimes or even the sound of their own voice to create frequencies to clear the room. So bells are said to cleanse the space simply by the sound that they make, and they're also an alarm, so if something kind of goes through that you don't want it to go through, the idea is that it will do that little that little dinging sound. So this is my ward that I put on my front door, and you could also do a whole consecration ceremony with these as well. And consecration is essentially where you assign a tool for a specific magical purpose. So you would go through this ceremony and literally assign this witch bell for protection for your home. So this is my front door bell. And then this one, I had a friend make this for me, and it's so gorgeous. There's so many different, let me see if I can get the camera to focus. So many different symbols on it, and it is just imbued with her love and magic. And, ooh, I just realized I have an ugly ponytail on my wrist. Ignore that. Anyways, I love these witch bells that she made me, and I hang them on my... So I have a room, a spiritual room, obviously, that I'm usually filming in. When you see me with all like the cabinets behind me, that is my spiritual room, or it's like the cabinets with the crystals. You saw it in the introduction, and you'll see it again towards the end of this video. That is my spiritual room. And so this hangs on the door of that spiritual room. So not only do I have bells on the front door to guard against negativity entering the space, I also have witch bells on my spiritual room. So those are witch bells. They've been used for a really, really long time. It's kind of an old school practice. And then we have witch balls, not to be confused with witch bells. So these are witch balls, and witch balls were used a lot, I believe, in the 17th, 18th centuries. In England, they would hang them up in windows to ward against negative energy, evil spirits, etc. But witch balls are essentially glass balls that are hollow inside. And so you hang them in your windows, and they are said to ward off negativity. I like the fact that they are a little bit protective, and this is a folk magic practice that dates back, you know, a long time. So I really like that about it. But also they're gorgeous. You know, when the light comes in and it fractals off of these witch balls, it's just beautiful. So I collect a lot of witch balls and hang them in all the windows of my home. These are just two, obviously, that I'm showing you here, two variations, but anything that's a glass ball that's hollow, again, like the witch bells, you can do a whole consecration ceremony where you consecrate this witch ball specifically for home protection. So these are the ones that I hang in my window, and then I also have some that don't necessarily hang in a window, they just kind of sit in my rooms. So like this one, for example, it's actually meant to be a pond glass ball. It's meant to float in water, so you're supposed to put it in a pond, and then it's just like a beautiful glass orb. But I use it as a witch ball, and then I have this little stand here. It's meant to be for a tea light. I really love this stand, but anyways, I just put it in here. And then this is a decor piece in my home. So another great tip, if you are not fully out of the broom closet, there are some people that I am not comfortable telling that I'm a witch. I mean, a lot of people in my life know now, but there are still some people that come to my home where I don't want it to look super witchy because I don't want to scare them off. So this is a great alternative because this just looks like decor. You would have no idea that this was a witch ball that I have consecrated specifically for home protection. So it's kind of a nice way to hide your home protections a little bit. So that's witch bells, witch balls. Another thing I wanted to talk about is salt bowls. Salt bowls is another folk magic practice. It is where you essentially have a bowl of salt, and you can either put sea salt in there, pink Himalayan salt, black salt. There's all these different correspondences for different types of salt. I just use regular table salt when I'm trying to cleanse and clear a space, but you put the salt bowl in the room, and it aids in protection by absorbing all of the negative energies in that space. And then you just, every now and then, when you feel like the salt bowl needs changing, you switch it out, get rid of that salt, put new salt into it. I was gonna bring some salt bowls to show you, but they're scattered all around my house in random places, and I really didn't want to gather them all up. So you know what a bowl of salt looks like. So salt bowls are a really great way to, like I said, just absorb the negative energy in an environment, contain it, and then you can dispose of it, recycle, and put some new salt back in. I also have some rosemary and garden sage planted outside my front door. And this really aids with prosperity and protection. planting rosemary outside your front door is supposed to aid in protection and make sure that only positive, loving energies are entering your space, and it is kind of weeding out all of the negative energy. Another thing that I will occasionally do for home protection is regular smoke cleansings. And when I say regular, it's not really on a schedule. I know a lot of people say with smoke cleansings that you should smoke cleanse your house every month or every quarter or whatever. I just say do it whenever you feel like it needs to be done. I personally like when there are spirits in my home. It actually feels more comforting. When a house is empty, that's where I get a little weird and it kind of sketches me out a little bit. It's a little bit too quiet, too lonely, too isolated. So I enjoy working with spirits. If they are loving, friendly spirits that are benevolent and they are not, you know, malevolent, causing harm or negative energy, you know, whatever, I am totally fine with those spirits living in my space and interacting with me, just as long as, you know, of course, they're aligned with my highest will. And I have other filtering systems as well that we'll talk about later on in this video for how to kind of weed out the negative entities and allow the good ones to pass through. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. But when you're smoke cleansing, obviously you'd want to open all the windows in your home and go from room to room, getting all the nooks and crannies, going over the doors and the windows and pushing that smoke from the back of the room towards the window. Everybody's smoke cleanses a little bit different, but I do consider this a form of protection magic because you are cleansing and clearing the space of potentially any negative entities or negative energy. Okay, so now we start to move a little bit more into some new age practices with crystals. I do use crystals quite a bit in my magical practice, and sometimes crystals get a bad reputation within the occult community because it is very new age. I mean, our ancestors didn't have access to all this rose quartz and amethyst and black obsidian and all these fancy metals and minerals and materials. They used what they had in their backyard. So it kind of gets a bad reputation sometimes working with crystals because everybody thinks, oh, you're just a new age witch. But really, I think it's actually kind of nice to incorporate some of the new age modern practices with some of the folk magic old school practices. I really like blending the two together. So this is really where we get into more new agey stuff where we're talking about crystals. I love using black obsidian. I have this black obsidian pyramid that I use. It is, if you can see my bay window here, it sits right in front of my bay window with my house sigil, and we're going to talk about the house sigil a little bit later in this video, but this sits right in front of my bay window to ward off and protect the space. This has been consecrated as well. And then for personal protection, not just for house protection, I love using necklaces, rings. You can do tons of, you can enchant pretty much anything you want. So this is my favorite piece that I have. It's a mala. So I hope you can see that okay. It has black obsidian, smoky quartz, and hematite. All three of those crystals are excellent for protection. I also have tons of black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is going to be another one if you're interested in crystals that's excellent for protection. I have black tourmaline kind of all over my house. So anyways, I love wearing this mala when I'm really feeling like I need extra protection. And sometimes I'll even wear this like when I am attempting to astral project or do anything in the astral realm. I will put this mala on my body to protect my body during that time when I go into a deep trance. Or if I'm just going into a social event where I really need to be protected, I will wear something like this. I mean, this is pretty hardcore. This is 108 beads because, you know, traditional malas have 108 beads. And if you're not familiar with malas, I love them. They're fantastic. You can use them for so many different things. This mala is fabulous. I love it. I also have some pendants that are just like black obsidian. So yeah, crystals are definitely something you can incorporate into your practice. Okay, now we are going to move on to the house sigil, the house spirit, and building your astral army. Okay, so we are back in my witchy room. Eventually, I would love to give you all a tour of this room. I'm still kind of perfecting it. It's always a work in progress, but anyways, that's not what this video is about. Let's talk about the house sigil. So if you're not familiar with sigils, sigils are symbols that are used for magical purposes. And I made a whole video on sigils as far as how to create them, how to charge them, how to activate them. I'm not really going to be going into that in this video video because it is lengthy and I don't want this video to be really long. So if you're not familiar with sigils, definitely go check out that sigil video. But what I have is a house sigil. I have one that I have created specifically for home protection that only allows the entities that I want to enter this house. So they must be benevolent, they must be in alignment with my true will and in alignment with my highest good. And that comes with people as well, not just with magical entities. So the house sigil actually kind of allows me to walk through my front door and have all of that negative energy attached to me get filtered out and left at the front door. I don't bring that into my home when I get home, which is really nice because sometimes you just have a really bad day, or you've had energy vampires around you, or people that just really make you feel terrible. You have this extra negative energy stuck on you and you just need to like shake it off, right? You need to get that energy off of you. So having a house sigil is really fantastic because once you walk through the front door, all of that stuff is filtered off of your body. It slaps back to the front door. It's not allowed to enter your space. So it's great for your person as well, but it's also good obviously for filtering out magical entities or spiritual beings that you don't really want in your space. So what I do, I've created this sigil. By the way, there's a dog barking outside. It's so hard filming these videos when I'm like near people, so I'm sorry if you can hear that. But anyways, I have created this sigil and I put this sigil everywhere. So I showed you my black obsidian pyramid. I do put that sigil that has been charged and activated underneath that black obsidian pyramid by my bay window. I also, when I'm smoke cleansing my home, I will take my smoke bundle and I will draw the sigil with the smoke over all the doors, over all the windows. I have also gone through all of the mirrors in my home as well and put that sigil on the back of the mirror. And this is really important because mirrors are said to be portals to other realms. Some people believe in this, some people don't, but these portals, obviously, you want to have some sort of protections on them. That way things aren't just, you know, walking in whenever they want to walk in. I don't know if I personally believe that mirrors are portals. I mean, I could see how that came about, but just to be safe, I've got my sigils behind all the mirrors in my home as well. You can also take your house sigil and put it up above all your doors. You can write just a tiny little sigil on a piece of paper, have it blend into your walls so people don't even really see it, and then just tape it to that piece of molding right above your door. You don't even notice it, or even tape it behind the molding, kind of like behind the little lip of it. That way, I mean, nobody's looking up at the top of doors, right? So when people come into your home, nobody notices that kind of stuff. So you can definitely take your house sigil and really use it wherever, however often you want to. But that's really how I've been able to maintain this space as far as a filtering system goes and only allowing certain energies to enter this space. Now let's talk about the house spirit. Not everybody believes that a spirit can be a house. I personally do. I am an animist. I believe there is some sort of energy or frequency in pretty much anything. But a lot of people believe that the house itself has a spirit. The house was potentially built from trees. Obviously, if you have a wood house, I'm sure there are like a million other materials out there that people make their houses out of, but it potentially was made from trees, which had spirits. There was energy put into the building of the house. The house creates its own energetic frequency, its own orb of energy, its own spirit, however you want to call that. To me, all of those things are really interchangeable. It's all just energy. But I really believe that having a positive relationship with the spirit of your house does aid in home protection. And you actually see this across a lot of different cultures. This isn't just like a magic and witchcraft thing. If you've ever seen the Marie Kondo, I forgot her TV show, but it's where she goes to people's homes and she organizes their spaces. It's a really popular show. But Marie Kondo, I don't actually know what her spirituality is. Some sort of Eastern spirituality. That's all I know of, but she actually acknowledges the house spirit before she cleans or organizes a space. She actually sits down in the middle of a room before doing anything and gives a moment to give blessings or ask for blessings, have a conversation with the house, or just pay some respects, give some gratitude. And I think that's really important because you can really have energies work in your favor rather than working against you. So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're in a home that that's constantly breaking down and you're having to fix it all the time and you're getting that negative relationship with the house, try switching that into a more positive relationship where, yes, you obviously need to fix what's broken, but really paying respects to the house. And before you do any sort of painting or reorganizing or renovating or anything, taking some time to sit on the floor of your house in the center of your living room or wherever and having a conversation with that house, telling that house what you're going to do, maybe doing a little prayer or a little chant, asking for the house's blessing, just being considerate of that house spirit. And you might find that your relationship naturally becomes better with your home environment, and you might find that things aren't breaking as often. I know that sounds insane, but just try it. If you are living in a situation where things are falling apart, try switching around that relationship and you might see that things are starting to work in your favor. And the same idea applies to home protection with this. So I have a relationship with my house spirit. One way that you can build your relationship is by naming your home, giving it a name that maybe it really likes. You can also give your house little offerings. You can also just genuinely take care of it. Every time that you are painting a wall or fixing screwing in a new light bulb or whatever it is, just taking some moments to give respect and gratitude to this house that is offering you a place to stay out from the rain or out from the storm, just being grateful that you have a roof over your head. So a lot of people wouldn't really consider working with the house spirit as part of their home protection, but for me, I do, because my house is working in my favor. We have a great relationship. I take care of my house takes care of me. So it's definitely a back and forth relationship there. And then we get into some personal protections. So this is where we get into mental shielding, building your astral army. So with personal protections, this is something that's mobile, obviously. You can take this wherever you go. It's not like house protections where it's limited to just your house. This is really just on your person, how you personally protect yourself. And like I mentioned previously, you can use some new age practices like crystals. You can use some folk magic practices by carrying certain charms around you. I personally love mental shielding. So what you would want to do, you want to practice this, right, before you bring it live. So spend some time practicing your shielding, which is where you would visualize however your energy looks like to you. It can be any color, any shape, any sensation. For me, mine is kind of like a warm golden orb that vibrates a little bit, but everyone's energy obviously is going to be different, but you would imagine that energy filling up kind of the center of your head. You can imagine it however you want it to be, either at your heart chakra, or you can even go to like solar plexus area, the belly button, or even the root chakra, whatever you want to do for that. But you would imagine your energy expanding out towards the rest of your body and then becoming a shield around your entire aura or persona, or however you want to say that. So you can use shielding practices. When I am going into a really difficult situation that I know is going to be draining, I will absolutely mentally shield myself. So because I am an empath, I do oftentimes absorb the emotions of other people around me, and not just the emotions, sometimes it's the physical ailments as well. And I don't want my body to be in pain all the time. I don't want to feel everyone's emotions. So when I'm going into a social situation, it is difficult for me to be around people in real life. It's easy for me to talk to the camera and talk to you all this way, but I actually don't enjoy being around other humans. That sounds terrible because I love other people, but it's just so draining for me. It's really, really difficult. So with this mental shielding practice that I do, you can build up your mental shield to look however you want it to look. For me, mine also has a little bit of a rubber exterior, so anything that gets thrown my way, any negative energy kind of bounces back off and goes back to the person who sent it. It's kind of like a return to sender spell, but just automatic. And I do have some other little charms in my home as well, and things that I use for protection that I won't dive too much into in this video because it's a very personal practice. But I do have certain protections set to where if somebody sends me something, it's going to come back to them twice as big. And that is a little bit more where we get into baneful magic, because you are kind of harming the other person. If somebody wants to send me some negative energy, it's going to come back to them twice as bad. And I don't personally feel bad about that. I know some people might say, ooh, that's really evil to like send them back energy doubled. But for me, I'm like, well, if you send me back energy or bad energy, you're going to get it doubled back to you. So there are certain practices that I do that I won't, you know, totally go into on this video, that are more like, they're not necessarily passive, they're kind of like passive aggressive, you know? It's a little bit more of an aggressive approach to magic. Rather than just warding and cleansing out negative energy, I am literally sending that energy straight back to them. And I hope it is doubled, because nobody should be sending negative energy to another person. So anyways, I am not 100% love and light here, people. It is what it is. You do what you gotta do to protect yourself, right? That's all I'm gonna say about that. Moving on to the next subject. Now let's talk about building your astral army. This is kind of where chaos magic meets witchcraft. I mean, we've already talked about chaos magic a little bit with the sigils, etc., and just kind of different styles of things, but this is really where it gets super abstract and you can get really, really creative with your magical practice. I love working with magical entities, and I kind of wanted to talk to you about my personal entities, what I do for building my astral army. But an astral army is essentially an army in the astral realm or in the celestial realm that is built for your benefit. So people that could be, or entities that can be in an astral army, are deities, ancestors, servitors, tulpas. There's so many different types of magical entities that you can work with, but people start to naturally build their astral army without realizing it. A lot of people will go into deity work. They will choose a deity that really calls to them, or maybe a deity has called out to them, and then you start building a relationship with that deity. And then once the relationship has developed enough to where you can ask for their protection, or you can call on them for any particular need, they would be your ally at that point. They would be part of your astral army because they are ready to fight for you if necessary. I personally am, I mean, some of you already know, I'm atheist or kind of agnostic, so I don't really work with deities. When I do, I view them as psychological archetypes, so I don't necessarily work with any particular gods or goddesses in that respect. So for me, I work with ancestors a lot, and I do plan to make a video on ancestral magic at some point, but I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit in this video as well, because with ancestral magic, there is so much lineage and history. There's so many spirits. There's the collective unconscious. There's so many ways that you can tap into energy outside of yourself that can help you in personal protection or home protection. I know that my ancestors have my back if I ever need them. I have, over the past couple years, really built a solid relationship with them to where I can call on them for protection whenever I need protection. And I wanted to make a little note about ancestors as well, because a lot of people say, well, I don't have a good relationship with my family that is passed on, so how can I work with ancestors? And my answer to that is there are 4 different kinds of ancestors, and I'm going to talk about all 4 really quickly. I'm going to go much more in detail when I do an ancestral magic video, but the first type of ancestor is biological. These are the ancestors that you were biologically, you know, that you derive from and that you have the same DNA. And also you have to consider that when these ancestors pass on, they are gaining a whole different type of wisdom than when they were alive, because now they have seen what's on the other side. And in my personal experience, this is all personal gnosis that I'm talking about right here. So definitely do your research, cross-reference everything. What I say is not 100% the word of the ultimate truth or whatever. But with my personal gnosis, I have found that ancestors that maybe were, let's say I have really Christian ancestors, and I'm like, well, would they really approve of my witchcraft practice? I mean, they didn't when they were alive, but you also have to remember that some of those mundane things are kind of left at the door when they pass to the other side. They are in a different space than they were when they were alive. And again, this is my personal gnosis here. Not everybody's going to agree with me on this. So even working with Christian ancestors, there's a level of understanding there that I know that I can work with them, even though I'm a witch, and when they were alive, they did not approve of witchcraft, but things are different now. They're in a different space. I'm in a different space. Our energies are allowed to grow and evolve. So you have the biological ancestors, right? That's one type of ancestor. The second type of ancestor are territorial ancestors. These are spirits that you are not biologically related to, but that were the ancestors of the land that you currently occupy. So I'm American, and obviously this land was originally occupied by Native Americans. I didn't choose to be here, okay? I'm here now and I'm making the best of it. But territorial ancestors are great to work with because it's kind of like working with the land spirits on the land that you're currently occupying, which can really work to your benefit in home protection. If you are building a good relationship with your territorial ancestors and going, okay, you were the stewards of the land at the time. I'm sure there's a better word other than steward, but you get where I'm going here with that. So you were the occupants of the land at this time. You were taking care of this land. Now it's my turn. Allow me to take care of this land to the best of my ability. Allow me to honor it. Allow me to honor you and really build that good relationship with your territorial ancestors and your land spirits. Because obviously the property that you live on is really, really important. So if you have your house spirit working with you in your favor, you have your territorial ancestors working with you in your favor, they're really going to help weed out the people that are trying to step foot on your property. Let me just tell you that. So you have the biological ancestors, you have the territorial ancestors, then you have archetypal ancestors. Archetypal ancestors are the people that you are not biologically related to, but that you are very, very similar to in an archetypal sense. So let's say you were a poet, or you are a poet. All of the poets that ever existed would be one of your archetypal ancestors. Or, I mean, the list goes on and on. Any strong, badass female that I find that existed in the 17th, 18th centuries, she's my archetypal ancestor, okay? So you can really identify with a lot of different individuals that you weren't necessarily biologically related to, but you relate to them on a deep sense of the way you are, your ego, your personality, etc. So archetypal ancestors can be really, really helpful in a protection magic practice as well with building your astral army. And you can set up altars. This is similar to deity work where you have a picture or a statue or some sort of totem, item, trinket on your altar representing this type of ancestor or this type of deity, and then you just give offerings to it. You start building that relationship to where you get to a point where you feel comfortable calling upon them whenever you need protection. So we've got the three types of ancestors. The fourth type of ancestors are source. And source is the energy in which we all derive from, depending on your viewpoint on that, of course. But source is this energy that has no separation. It's all of our ancestors. It's my ancestors, it's your ancestors, it's the entire ancestors of the human race. So if you don't want to work with any ancestor in particular, you can just work with source, which is a collection of all of them. It's the collective unconscious. It's known by different names in different cultures. It's also known as the Akashic records. So it's really depending on your culture what you want to call it, but it's this energy and memory of everything that we've done as a species and the energy in which we all derive from. Now, what I just said is very, very controversial, so please take that with a grain of salt and just know that I'm talking about personal gnosis here. But we've got the four different types of ancestors, so you have plenty of opportunities to do ancestral work with, even though you may have family members that you don't personally relate to, there are many other ancestors available out there for you to connect to. And then we get into magical entities created by the practitioners specifically for home protection. So I have made a video on servitors and I have made a video on tulpas, and I'm not really going to go into the nitty-gritty of what those are and how to create them in this video. So if you are interested in making magical entities, definitely check out the servitor video and the tulpa video. But tulpas are kind of like imaginary friends, they're companions. It's a lot more of an emotional connection. Servitors are a little bit better for personal protection and home protection because they're more like servants. They kind of do as they're told. They are not sentient beings. They don't have emotions. It's not so much a companion spirit as it is more like this protector archetype that you can, create for home protection. You can use servitors in so many other ways, but we're not going into that in this video. So for my personal practice, I have a couple different magical entities that I work with, and I wanted to talk about them a little bit just so you can kind of see how this actually works for a witch. And again, this is where chaos magic, you know, meets witchcraft. So I have a servitor for home protection. I'm not going to say his name because that is very, very personal, but I actually have two. So the first one is for home protection, and he guards my entire property. So with this servitor, I have picked an item that I wanted to house it in. That's kind of how servitors work. There's a whole process to it, but you want to find something that is essentially its home. It's kind of like a genie in the bottle. You need to find the bottle to house the genie. So with this servitor, I have taken its bottle or its home, and I have walked it around the perimeter of my property just to kind of show it this space. I have also walked it through all the rooms in my home, and that way it can get an idea of all the things that it does need to protect. And so you would incorporate this into your servitor creation. Just go check out that video because I don't want to have to go through the whole thing in this video. This video is already so long, but you would add that extra component of walking it around the perimeter of your property, showing it to all the different rooms inside your home, and it stays here permanently. This is its resting grounds. It stays on this property in this home even when I'm gone. So when I'm gone, this house remains protected by this servitor. And then I also have one for personal protection. Now this magical entity is kind of like a servitor tulpa hybrid. So I have created it for personal protection. It comes with me wherever I go. Again, I'm not going to share a lot of details about the servitor or what its name is, etc., because that is very personal. But this magical entity comes with me everywhere, and it's really nice to pair this with mental shielding, especially when I'm feeling a little anxious or I'm having a hard time in a space. That servitor, I can call upon that servitor to help me out and to cut ties from people and to get rid of a situation or get rid of negative energy, whether it's from my external environment or whether I am the negative energy. Either way, it gets rid of negative energy for me. It is a protector. It helps with my anxiety, etc. And I say a servitor tulpa hybrid because it's more like it has kind of evolved over time. I've had this servitor for a while now, and it's kind of evolved into more of a companion spirit rather than just a servant. I take really good care of my magical entities. I give them regular offerings. We have a really, really strong bond. And that's another thing. If you work with a magical entity, whatever that entity is, make sure you have a really good, strong connection to it. But anyways, I have this servitor tulpa hybrid, and it comes with me everywhere I go. The third magical entity that I work with is a power animal, and I mentioned this in my power animal, spirit animal video. I have a power animal with me that comes on astral trips. So this magical entity is specific for when I'm doing astral work, when I'm astrally projecting, when I am, even sometimes when I'm lucid dreaming or doing any sort of shamanic journey. This power animal accompanies me on my journey, and it is protecting me as I leave my body and go somewhere else. So my body remains protected by my servitor tulpa hybrid, and my mind, my spirit, remains protected by my power animal as I go on this astral trip. So that's kind of a general overview of my personal magical army. I've got the two servitors. Well, one's more of a hybrid. I've got the power animal. I've got all of my ancestors behind me. So it's really important to just start building this army of magical beings that can work for your benefit. All these spirits that you have built relationships with and that really want to help you as you help them. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about as far as building an astral army goes. So I hope all these practices are helpful for you. I'm sure that this video is going to be so long. I've already been recording for a couple hours, and honestly, I could talk about protection magic all day long. This could be a really, really long video, but I tried to, you know, keep it as short as possible. So anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts about all this protection magic stuff. Thank you so much for sticking around and for being here. And actually, I kind of got inspired by Alvine Green. She does a tag word on all of her videos. So if you have watched up until this point, let's do a tag word of protection magic. So if you have watched this whole video up until this point, comment protection magic so I know that you made it here. That would totally make my day. We'll see who is able to stick around this long because it's been a while. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye.